Welcome, everyone. Today's interview is going to be a very interesting one. We're thrilled to have with us Tracy Simons, a fantastic woman with extensive experience in healthcare, founder of her own company, known for her ability to understand the market's trends and patients' needs. Today, we'll dive into her experiences, insights, and the product that she has developed specifically for those traveling while seeking medical treatment. This is going to be a fantastic opportunity to gain a deeper understanding of medical tourism and the healthcare insurance, learning from someone who has truly made an impact. Without further ado, let's get started. Thank you very much for being here, Tracy.
Oh, thank you, Diana. I'm so thrilled to help and grateful for what you do as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I'm very excited because this has been a topic that we've been asked about a lot. And I know there's a lot of companies that are doing something very similar, but not quite as efficiently as you. So we've had a lot of questions from our members. So I'm going to go through a few of them so you can explain to them how it works. First of all, I want to ask you, can you provide an overview, of your company and its experience in the medical tourism industry?
Yeah, thank you. I absolutely will. I have a business partner who is a mentor, and he's been in travel accident insurance since the early 80s. He did nothing but missionary and mission sending organizations, and early on determined that accident insurance and first party insurance was a good way to mitigate liability for sending organizations. So in 2008, we were approached by Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina, who was developing a product called Companion Global Healthcare. And they were trying to set up an international network of providers for really the self-funded insurer and insureds. And they asked us to help them figure out how to mitigate risk. So we put together this accident program that then has morphed over the years, really to include individual enrollments, facilitator partners, hospital partners, and self-funded employers.
Interesting how it mutated to cover the needs.
It
So
did.
what?
And the person who came to us from Blue Cross was really a pioneer in this field. So he was very, very generous in saying, let's insure as many people as we can because rising waters float all boats. And he was really trying to help the actual medical tourism industry. So
Right, which has grown, exponentially. So what type of medical tourism insurance plans do you offer?
well, we have our bespoke plan that we developed from scratch and bespoke wording that covers not only the travel accident and illness portion related to international travel, but also a complication from an approved procedure.
So how do you determine what would be the best insurance coverage for a client traveling abroad?
Well, that's very, very subjective sometimes, but everybody needs the general accident and travel insurance, which includes the slip and fall, the taxi accident, that kind of thing. And most normal travel insurance policies have an exclusion if you're traveling to receive medical care, which is why we put that portion on this complication benefit. But then the limits that you choose could be determined by your destination country and the cost of medical care there, or when you return home, will you have a continuity of care in your home country through a socialized medical system? Do you need coverage when you return home for a complication that could occur later? We also have companion coordination cover that helps people who are traveling with a companion and get delayed and need that companion to stay. So I would say if you're coming into the US, you probably need higher limits. If
Mm-hmm.
you're going someplace that typically is far less expensive for medical emergencies, then you can choose lower limits. The good thing is the patient themselves gets to choose the limit and they know what their exposure is and what limit they bought, which gives the facilitator, the hospital, and the patient all peace of mind.
Mm-hmm. So you were talking about, you know, the companion and the need to move around and to get from point A to point B. So does this insurance cover travel related risks such as trip cancellation, flight cancellation, hotels?
We do have some travel delay and trip cancellation coverage on there. The intent when we added it was really lost deposits because we had a few clients that were worried when people got delayed that they'd already booked their OR and they're losing revenue because the person was delayed. So we can reimburse deposits. We cover mostly on the outbound travel, not the return, because that's where the biggest exposure is. If you lose your luggage on your way there, you do need replacement items. But if you lose it on the way home, you don't necessarily need replacement items. We've also found that a lot of times that people travel for medical purposes buy a changeable ticket
Mm-hmm.
because they don't know if they're going to be delayed on their trip home. So really you only have change costs, which are not typically significant, but there is cover for things like strike and weather, the normal things that travel insurance covers for.
Okay, interesting. And you were also mentioning the continuity of care. So does your policy cover both medical complications during the treatment and follow-up care?
It does not cover follow-up care, only the complications. So usually the facilitator and the patient will have set that up prior to their trip. Um, I mean, that really is kind of the white elephant in the room is the continuity of care issue. A lot of providers in the US will not see you if you've had a procedure done outside of the country. They are protecting their revenue stream and their clientele. I have had someone in Canada that was having trouble finding a doctor in Canada after a complication to do a revision. But
Okay.
those are rare. You know, if you go to the ER in the US, you can't be turned away. I
Mhm.
would imagine there's certain hospitals in different countries you can't be turned away. I think it's really when you need a revision. And luckily, our policy will send you back to the original providing doctor if you need a revision and a new doctor does not want to touch an old doctor's work. So that's provided you're happy with that original doctor as well. So do your
That-
credentialing ahead of time.
mhm, mhm. That's very interesting. So when traveling, what type of medical procedures and treatments are covered under the insurance?
Well, the intent is really for pre-scheduled elective procedures. That's kind of expanded to things that people wouldn't consider elective, but are pre-scheduled. So some types of cancer treatments that maybe aren't available in their home country that you wouldn't really consider elective, but um, it's something that's pre-scheduled and you're healthy enough to travel and get the procedure done. So we do heart, joints, um, a lot of major medical, all the way down to just an executive checkup.
Interesting. So we've covered some fascinating insights on healthcare insurance, and I would love to and that you explain a little more and have you been shared the process so our listeners can understand how it works. For example, I would like to know, are there pre-existing conditions covered under your policy? And if so, under what circumstances do they apply?
Yes, so that is a typical exclusion with travel insurance, pre-existing conditions. So we do not cover pre-existing conditions. You would think that a health provider would vet you for your the status of your health prior to allowing you to travel internationally for an elective procedure. Some pre-existing conditions could be totally stabilized though. And if you haven't sought care in a certain amount of time and it's stabilized and you had sudden onset, that would be something that would be covered, but not related to a complication of the procedure. So doctors do check for comorbidities before they approve somebody for an elective procedure.
Uh, for sure. And talking about approval, are there any countries or regions where the insurance does not provide coverage?
No, luckily we were able to find a true international insurer. So we cover people globally, which is great because the more people you can aggregate in one program, the higher the premium you can put together and the lower the price you can provide it to the actual consumer. So if you're doing things regionally, sometimes you can't aggregate enough people or comply with all the local laws and requirements that cause the price to go up. So we truly are global. The only thing that we can't do is pay claims to people that are in sanctioned countries. So we wouldn't typically cover somebody from a sanctioned country because we could never pay them a claim.
Right, right. Talking about payments and prices and cost, could you tell me about the cost and any additional fees or hidden cost that clients should be aware when purchasing a customized insurance?
Well, I mean, there's several ways to do it. If you're a facilitator and you have a group of people, we can work on a customized program and price for you because with volume, you can get a discount. If you're an individual and you're buying just through the online enrollment, there are some options in there that can help get the price down. All that's pretty transparent on the online enrollment, but we don't have hidden costs. The only thing is if you pay by credit card, there is a processing fee because that's something that you couldn't put in insurance. The insurance provider is not going to provide there. That's a separate premium. We've also added some very neat services like a crisis management service and assistance service. All of that's included in the cost of the program.
Excellent. So what are the steps that should be in place to ensure a smooth claim experience for clients undergoing treatment?
Yep. So a couple things. Every travel accident policy I know is a reimbursement policy. Now, if there's a huge medical emergency and the costs are extensive, you can call an assistance service and get a guarantee of payment so that the actual patient doesn't have to come out of pocket. And at that point, then the insured would assign their benefits to the provider. But typically it's reimbursement. The average claim we've seen is about $3,000. That's taken the largest claims and the little tiny claims and averaging them together. But there's a very clear claims process. We have a claim form, you fill it out, you gather your receipts, you submit it to the claim provider. And if there's any questions, they'll ask. And then within 7 to 10 days, you'll have your reimbursement.
That's very convenient and very interesting. I'm sure that our listeners are going to be very excited to know more about this healthcare insurance. So can you share any stories or case studies of clients who have used your insurance?
Yeah, there's a few. I think probably the one that comes to mind the most right now is the mother and daughter who went for bariatric surgery. The mother was having the surgery, the daughter was the companion, and the mother developed a fatal embolism while they were traveling.
Wow.
And I
Terrible.
remember being at home on a Saturday and getting the call from the assistance service and being able to help this poor daughter who had just lost her mother and was in a foreign country try to figure out, what do we do? How do I get her home? She's grieving. So luckily our assistance service and our repatriation service took over, helped her get home, and then she had a life insurance benefit as well. So does that make it better? No, but does that take a lot of pressure off of the companion, the daughter, the facilitator, the hospital? I mean, that's the whole purpose, is keeping everybody's in their lane as to what they do best and finding the best professionals to handle things when the emergency occurs.
Yeah, that's very important to take in consideration because one never knows. We always think that it's going to be a smooth ride, and well, we never know, you know.
Mhm.
So being covered and being prepared is super important, especially if we're going to a country that is not ours.
Yeah, and I think that's the scary part, but I've traveled and seen hospitals all over the world, and it was real eye-opening to see the quality of care and services provided in other countries. So complications occur whether you're home or whether you're in a foreign country. But when you're in a foreign country, there is a higher need for a standard of care that kind of coddles somebody and helps them get home and deal with it in foreign languages. Um, and I think, I've had American hospitals come to me and say, hey, can I get this in the US? Because we don't like complications either, but so it's not just foreign hospitals, hospitals anywhere around the world that are wonderful, have complications. They're not the fault of the provider typically.
Yeah, and we shouldn't discard good treatment in, small countries or remote countries. I've been in um, you know, places like Borneo and so on, and I got sick and I was very pleasantly surprised. I went to a hospital over there and it was state of the art. The treatment was fantastic and the care was extraordinary.
Yeah,
So
it
there.
is. I was just so shocked with some of the hospitals I saw before. I mean, this is in the early 2000s when this whole idea was presented to us. And I thought, why in the world would you leave to go have care until you go see the specialties and the quality of care and the extreme difference in price is unbelievable.
And
So
that doesn't necessarily mean um that you're getting less quality or less service. It's just different in every region. And of course, sometimes you get to go on a mini vacation as well to great destinations.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Super. Well, before we wrap up, could you share with our listeners how they can connect with you and learn more about your company?
Absolutely. So I work with facilitators and hospitals direct to do group and customized programs. Um, you can contact me directly. My suggestion would be go through Diana's organization because of the training that they do with their participants and their focus on quality that provides us the ability to give you a discount on the pricing. So contact Diana or me direct and let me know you're a member of her organizations. My email is T Simmons with one M at customassurance.com. And our website is easy. It's medicaltourisminsurance.com.
Yes, I need to remember all our audience that our members for the World Council get discounts on this service and many other services that we have. So you want to visit us as well at www.worldcouncilformedicaltourism.org, all spelled out, worldcouncilformedicaltourism.org. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Tracy. I appreciate you sharing your experiences and insights with us. We'll be answering all the inquiries from our listeners through our website. Thanks, everyone, for taking the time. Until next time, stay curious and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. We have a lot of information regarding medical tourism, accreditations, contracts, travel warnings, and much more. Thank you again. My name is Diana Cuevas, and I'm president of the World Council for Medical Tourism.
Thank you,
Visit us.
Diana. I appreciate you so much.
Take care.